Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 10 Part 58 based on novel. So let's start. This is, when Lindong's eyes landed on Jutong's body, his pupils promptly shrunk. After which, intense shock surged within his eyes. Contrary to expectations, Jutong did not possess a body made up of flesh under his black robe. Instead, there wasn't any blood or flesh at all, there was only a black skeleton. Moreover, Lindong could see many densely packed mysterious black lines on the skeleton, and those devil lines were entwined around Jutong's bones. They were just like maggots in one's bones and they could not be removed. Furthermore, Lindong was able to see his organs, which were beating within his black skeleton. However, these organs were all completely black in color. Clearly, they were completely eroded by the demonic aura. However, what shocked Lindong the most was Jutong's heart. It was a pitch-black heart, which was beating at an extremely slow pace. Moreover, that black heart was filled with endless evil. No one could have imagined such a frightening scene below a complete human head. Meanwhile, one could see a complicated set of meridians within that strange body, and there was silver light coursing within those meridians. It was the strength of the spatial ancestral symbol. Those meridians were the only things within Jutong's body which had yet to be eroded by the demonic aura. It was also the reason why he was still able to use the spatial ancestral symbol. Black devil lines entwined around Jutong's body and they vaguely formed an extremely evil devil lock. It was precisely this devil lock that reduced Jutong to his current state. Is this Devil Emperor lock? Yang's exclamation suddenly sounded within Lindong's heart. Devil Emperor lock? What is that? Lindong frowned and hurriedly asked. During the ancient times, this was a vicious technique created by the Yimo Emperor, the only one who could match up to my owner. As long as this thing was placed on a person's body, he would gradually lose his mind and even his Yuan spirit would be sealed within his body with no means of escape. In fact, even a reincarnation stage expert would not be able to escape. Back then, those Yimo were afraid that certain reincarnation stage experts would enter reincarnation. Therefore, they placed the Devil Emperor lock on those reincarnation stage experts that they captured and destroyed them once and for all. A technique created by the Yimo Emperor? It's even able to end the life of a reincarnation stage expert? Lindong's pupils shrunk while shock filled his heart. This technique is extremely cruel. First, they would slice off the person's flesh, before they would erode all his organs with demonic aura for 10 years. After which, they would use the devil body as a lock and end all chances of life. Yang said in a solemn voice. Although this Devil Emperor lock is not as complete as the one seen during the ancient times, it is definitely not something that an ordinary Yimo king can create. It seems like Yuan Gate must be in cahoots with Devil Prison. Those bastards! Fury surged within Lindong's eyes when he heard this. It's no wonder Jutong used his final consciousness to beg Lindong for death. It was likely because he was unable to endure the torture anymore. Yang, is there still a way to rescue Marshal Senior Jutong? Anyone who has had the Devil Emperor lock placed on him will definitely die. In fact, they can't even enter reincarnation. However, Yang paused for a moment before continuing. Jutong is a little different since he possessed the spatial ancestral symbol. Therefore, his Yuan spirit should be under its protection, and it should not have been completely eroded by the demonic aura. If you can destroy this devil body, it might be possible to rescue his Yuan spirit. Destroy this devil body? A glint flashed across Lindong's eyes. The conversation between Lindong and Yang might seem like a long one, but it took place in Lindong's heart and was over in an instant. Following which, many exclamations sounded from behind Lindong. A silver light had begun to flicker on one black glove covering that emotionless Jutong's hands. Following which, the space behind Lindong became distorted, before an extremely sharp wind pierced towards his throat. Bang! Resplendent lightning glow erupted from Lindong's hand. After which, a palm clashed with that silver light while lightning arcs danced and blocked the spatial strength. Lindong jerked his body before he appeared behind Jutong. Then, Yuan power surged before a wild and violent palm wind, which was accompanied by dragon roars, ruthlessly smashed onto Jutong's body. However, after receiving Lindong's wild and violent attacks, Jutong's black bones merely emitted some sparks. It turns out that such attacks were unable to deal much damage to his black skeleton. Boom boom boom. Jutong quickly turned around. Then, silver light surged before an incomparably sharp palm wind whistled forward. Finally, he clashed head-on with Lindong. Following which, many wild and violent palm winds were formed before the space around the both of them was shaken until it cracked. Bang! Another ruthless bout had occurred. Violent Yuan power surged as the both of them quickly retreated. However, it was obvious that Lindong had the upper hand in this fight. Regardless, the strength of two ancestral symbols definitely exceeds that of the spatial ancestral symbol in Jutong's possession. Humph! At a far distance away, Jian Yuanzi let out a cold snort when he realized that Jutong had fell into a disadvantage. Promptly, a black glint flashed across his eyes before Jutong's body trembled. Soon after, Jutong suddenly pressed his hand downwards before a mysterious ripple swiftly spread across the land. After which, everyone realized that the land beneath him was turning barren at a rapid pace. Great Desolation Scripture? Ying Huan and the rest exclaimed in shock when they saw this familiar scene. Then, the expression in their eyes became complicated. After all, they didn't expect that even though Jutong was being controlled, he was still able to unleash the strongest martial arts of their Dao sect's desolate hall. With this being the case, Martial Senior Jutong, let us compete and see whose Great Desolation Scripture is stronger. Lindong's eyes were glimmering. Then, he suddenly formed a seal with both of his hands. After which, he pressed his hand towards the ground before a low cry was emitted from his mouth, Great Desolation Scripture. The rate at which the land was turning barren rapidly surged. Everyone could see that the desolate aura was spreading rapidly across the land. Within a couple of breaths, the land within thousands of kilometers was reduced into a wasteland. This overbearing martial arts caused many onlookers to feel a little fearful. Standing in the sky, the two of them continued to maintain the same stance, with their hands directed towards the ground. Though everything looked calm on the surface, everyone could feel an extremely violent ripple flowing through the air. This violent ripple was the most prominent beneath the ground. Everyone could sense the land shaking after all the energy in the ground within thousands of kilometers had gathered to this spot. After which, the energy was being bitterly contested by the two of them. Lush green grass grew at the area between the two of them. Those grass were filled with strong vitality, and they looked extremely glaring amidst the desolate land. Ying Xuanzi, Ying Xiaoxiao, Ying Huan, and the other members of Dao sect watched this scene anxiously. Right now, their emotions were extremely complicated. This was because they were aware that this was a match between the two most outstanding disciples of Dao sect in the last 100 years. In the hearts of the Dao sect disciples, one was a former legend while the other was a newborn legend. However, out of these two legends, one of them must emerge victorious today. The barren land continuously trembled and it felt as though there was an earthquake. Meanwhile, one could vaguely spot some light seeping out from beneath the ground. It turns out that extremely violent energy below was about to erupt. At this moment, Lindong inhaled a deep breath of air before he stared at the distant Jutong. Then, a smile surfaced on his face before he said, "Martial Senior Jutong, perhaps I shall emerge victorious in this fight." Two black holes were suddenly formed within Lindong's eyes after he uttered those words. Meanwhile, there was also black light surging from under his palms. Finally, they transformed into two huge black holes as well. After which, devouring power spluttered from them. Bang! The land finally collapsed at this moment. After which, a tens of thousands of feet large energy light pillar erupted just like a volcano eruption, before it shot towards the sky. In fact, even the clouds were forcefully shattered. Bang! After Lindong forcefully dragged out the energy from beneath the ground, another light pillar also shot out from below Jutong. However, his energy light pillar was only half as thick as Lindong's. Clearly, he was no match for Lindong when it came to absorbing and devouring energy. After all, Lindong's great desolation scripture together with his devouring ancestral symbols overbearing suction force far outclassed him. When they saw the face-off between the two of them, countless exclamations erupted. In fact, Ying Xiao and the rest clenched their hands tightly, while joy surged onto their faces. Bang! The tens of thousands of feet large energy light pillar lingered in the sky, but it did not stop. A whistle sounded before it penetrated the empty space and headed straight towards Jutong. While this frightening energy light pillar was charging towards Jutong, black holes suddenly appeared around him. Then, wild and violent devouring power surged and tore the empty space apart, leaving Jutong unable to use his spatial ancestral symbol to dodge that attack. Since he was unable to dodge, a grey glow promptly flashed across Jutong's eyes. Then, he stomped his foot before the huge energy light pillar lingering around him also whizzed forward. It looked just like a pillar that could split the sky, as it collided violently with that incoming energy light pillar, which was at least twice its size. Boom! A deafening sound reverberated across the sky. In fact, one could clearly hear that sound from 500 kilometers away. As the frightening energy assault wave spread, it actually overturned the large armies from both sides. The experts from both factions, who could endure this assault, stared intently at the point where the two energy light pillars clashed. At that spot, the empty space continuously shattered. While they were staring intently at that spot, their pupils suddenly shrunk. Then, they saw a light figure suddenly rushing out from within the light pillar. Following which, a low roar sounded before a massive black hole began to grow from beneath his palms. Twirling both of his hands, he forcefully merged the two light pillars together. Lindong grabbed the nearly 100,000 feet large energy light pillar. Meanwhile, the veins on his arms began to squirm like dragons. After which, he used every ounce of his strength to lift it up before he ruthlessly smashed Jutong. Boom! The energy light pillar came whistling downwards. Immediately, the land within 100,000 feet radius collapsed. Chen Yuan's expression was slightly altered when he saw the frightening momentum behind Lindong's attack. He moved his hands and was just about to activate Jutong's full strength to counter that attack when he suddenly realized that Jutong's body refused to budge. Damn it! Chen Yuan was startled. After which, he saw that a faint silver glint was flashing within Jutong's greyish eyes. Meanwhile, the latter's body was trembling violently. Clearly, he was using all his strength to resist Chen Yuan. Although Jutong only managed to resist for a brief moment, it was more than enough. By the time the silver glint in Jutong's eyes were forcefully eroded, the frightening energy light pillar had already smashed onto his body. Soon after, a relieved color appeared on his originally emotionless face. Marshal Junior Lindong, it's your victory. Thank you. He muttered softly in his heart as the frightening light pillar completely enveloped him in front of countless pairs of eyes. Resplendent light rays spread across the sky and it looked like the sun had just risen. This caused numerous individuals to involuntarily narrow their eyes. However, despite the stinging pain, they still forcefully endured the pain and stared intently at the sky. After all, everyone wanted to know who would emerge victorious in the fight between two legends of Tao sect. Ying Xuanzi was staring intently at the sky. Given his strength, he was naturally able to clearly see the scene occurring within the wild and violent energy pillars. Hence, he personally saw that massive energy light pillar, which looked like a pillar that could support the sky, smashing violently downwards before it landed on Jutong's body. The frightening energy within was such that even an expert who had touched reincarnation could not withstand it. Crack! Wild and violent energy crazily struck Jutong's black skeleton like floodwaters. Following which, the space around him was shattered. Soon after, many slight cracks began to stealthily appear on his black skeleton. Crack, crack. Those cracks may seem small, but they created a domino effect. Soon after, many cracks began to appear on that sturdy devil body which had repeatedly thwarted Lindong. Within a short period of time, the cracks spread all across Jutong's body. Evil and viscous demonic aura was emitted from within the black skeleton. However, they were completely vaporized by the terrifying energy. As the demonic aura continuously vanished, a smile slowly appeared on Jutong's face. After which, the wild and violent energy descended before his body was finally blown apart. The light pillar whistled forth before it finally landed on the distant ground. Immediately, the land rumbled and shook, before 100,000 feet large deep ravine was violently formed. It turns out that the entire mountain range was forcefully flattened. Countless pairs of eyes shot towards the sky. After which, they coincidentally saw the moment where Jutong's body was completely destroyed. Promptly, their hearts shuddered. Was the victor finally decided? A faint black fog lingered around the spot where Jutong's body was destroyed. Meanwhile, no life was emitted from within and it seemed like Jutong had perished. Countless Tao sect disciples sighed bitterly as they watched this scene. Meanwhile, all of them had mixed emotions in their hearts. Although Lindong emerged victorious, they were unable to rejoice. Instead, the hatred and fury they felt towards Yuan Gate became even more intense. After all, if it was not because of those Yuan Gate bastards, why would Lindong attack Jutong and be forced to kill his fellow martial brother? Chen Yuanzi stared at the sky from afar with an insidious expression. Meanwhile, a black glow was glimmering within his eyes. Standing in the sky, Lindong was also staring at the cluster of black fog. Promptly, he clenched his hand tightly before he began to feel somewhat anxious. According to what Yang said, Jutong's Yuan spirit should be able to escape as long as that devil body was destroyed. However, was his final attack too powerful and it ended up destroying Jutong's Yuan spirit as well? Don't worry. Let's wait first. He is protected by the spatial ancestral symbol and should not be so fragile. Yang's voice sounded in Lindong's heart. However, Lindong could hear the doubts in Yang's voice. Clearly, even Yang was not absolutely confident that Jutong had survived. Although Lindong felt a little anxious in his heart, he knew that fretting over this matter would be of little use. Hence, he gradually calmed his heart before he stared intently at the cluster of drifting black fog. The cluster of black fog drifting in the air showed no other activity. However, just as Lindong was about to lose control, his pupils suddenly shrunk. That was because he saw a silver ray of light suddenly appearing within that black fog. Moreover, it was vaguely possible to see an extremely weak golden light within that silver light. After which, that silver light wrapped around that weak golden light and began to flee from the black fog. Humph, trying to escape. However, a cold glint suddenly flashed across Chen Yuan's eyes just as the silver light appeared. Then, he formed a seal with one hand and coldly cried, "Devil Emperor Lock." The drifting black fog suddenly unleashed frightening demonic aura. Then, they directly turned into countless black rays of light and shot forward. Those light rays entwined around each other and vaguely formed an extremely evil devil lock. That devil lock entwined around the silver light in an attempt to seal it again. Lindong, act now. If the spatial ancestral symbol is once again sealed by the Devil Emperor lock, it will be impossible to salvage Jutong's remnant Yuan spirit. Yang's anxious voice suddenly sounded in Lindong's heart. Lindong acted immediately after Yang's voice sounded. Although he did not know what was going on, he knew that it was something that was extremely detrimental to Jutong. Black light and lightning glow seeped out from Lindong's arm the moment he moved. Within a short instant, his arm had transformed into a black lightning-like liquid. Then, he swiped his hand before he forcefully penetrated the evil devil lock and grabbed the silver light. Chen Yuan's expression became gloomy upon seeing this. Immediately, he changed his hand seal before the Devil Emperor lock changed its target and tried to erode Lindong's arm. Get lost! With a cold expression in his eyes, the strength of the two great ancestral symbols suddenly erupted from his arm. After which, that majestic force directly shattered the Devil Emperor lock. Back then, the reason why Yuan Gate was able to plant the Devil Emperor lock on Jutong was because they had already captured him. However, right now, Lindong was brimming with energy. Moreover, he possessed two great ancestral symbols, the Ancestor Stone and many other powerful divine objects made to resist the Yimo. As such, Chen Yuanzi must be dreaming if he wants to use the Devil Emperor lock to deal with Lindong. Lindong's liquidized arm quickly retracted from the Devil Emperor lock. Waving his sleeve, a warm white light shot out and wrapped around the Devil Emperor lock. Under the illumination from the white light, a sizzling sound erupted from within the Devil Emperor lock. After which, it was purified rapidly. Within a couple of minutes, it had vanished. Lindong secretly sighed in relief after he saw that the Devil Emperor lock was destroyed. After which, he cast his venomous eyes towards the gloomy-looking Chen Yuanzi, before murderous desire surged in his eyes. The light on Lindong's arm gradually disappeared before his arm returned to normal. Then, he slowly opened his palm. After which, one could see a silver light glimmering within, while an ancient ripple was being emitted. It was the spatial ancestral symbol. The silver light shook gently at this moment. After which, the glow became even more intense. Then, an extremely weak golden light slowly rose from deep within that silver light. It was Jutong's remnant Yuan spirit. Though Jutong's Yuan spirit was protected by the spatial ancestral symbol, he was still severely injured. As such, the golden light was extremely dim and not even the slightest fluctuation was emitted. His Yuan spirit has taken too much damage. Let me keep him in the Ancestor Stone and nourish it. With his cultivation level, it should not be difficult for him to recover his physical body as long as his Yuan spirit is still around. Yang said. Lindong nodded. After which, a warm white light shot out from within his body before it wrapped around the spatial ancestral symbol and the weak golden light. However, the golden light suddenly shook just as Yang was about to take him away. Following which, the golden light left the spatial ancestral symbol before he entered the white light alone. This? Lindong was slightly startled upon seeing this. Marshal Junior Lindong, all along I was protected by the spatial ancestral symbol. However, I was still eroded by the demonic aura. The ancestral symbols are natural divine objects and they despise the demonic aura. As of now, I am unable to use them. You are extremely talented and possess multiple ancestral symbols. Hence, the spatial ancestral symbol will be of much greater use in your hands. While Lindong was stunned, an extremely weak and soft voice was suddenly emitted from within the white light. After which, that voice transmitted into Lindong's ear. Marshal Senior Jutong. Lindong hurriedly spoke after hearing this. However, the golden light had already dimmed. After which, it was brought into the Ancestor Stone by Yang. Hence, Lindong could only stare at the spatial ancestral symbol in his hand with a frown. Lindong, what he said is correct. Currently, he has already been eroded by the demonic aura. Although the ancestral symbol was always protecting him, the ancestral symbols have their own rules. Therefore, trying to forcefully take control of them will only wound up hurting both parties. Yang said. Lindong hesitated for a moment. Although an ancestral symbol was an extraordinary object, Lindong already possessed 2 of them. As such, they were no longer as alluring as before. Moreover, this was something that belonged to Jutong and he felt that it was somewhat inappropriate to take it. However, being indecisive at this moment made him look like a hypocrite. Hence, he nodded and said, I will keep the spatial ancestral symbol for now. However, I will hand it back to Marshal Senior Jutong after he has been purified. That's up to you. Moreover, you should be wary of those fellows from Yuan Gate. For some unknown reason, I feel that something is amiss. Yang nodded before he quickly said. Lindong's pupils hardened. He immediately nodded before he kept the spatial ancestral symbol into his body. After which, his body moved and appeared in front of Ying Xuanzi before he said, Relax, it's still possible to save Marshal Senior Jutong. Joy finally rose on the faces of Ying Xuanzi's group after they heard this. What should we do now? Little Martin leaned over and asked. Meanwhile, a cold glint was glimmering within his eyes when he stared at the 3 great heads of Yuan Gate. In fact, it seemed like the murderous intent in his eyes was so dense that it had solidified. Lindong did not reply. However, he similarly cast his attention towards the interior of Yuan Gate, which was permeated by demonic aura. Then, a cold chill rose in his eyes. Standing above Yuan Gate, Chen Yuanzi smiled faintly when he detected their line of sight. Then, he said, What a fascinating battle. It seems like there are new legends being born in every generation. Lindong, it seems like you have surpassed Jutong. Old dog, it's your turn next. Lindong stared at Chen Yuanzi without any emotion. Chen Yuanzi smiled. Meanwhile, the insidious expression in his eyes grew even denser. After which, he glanced at the large number of experts from the Yuan Destruction Alliance before he nodded and said, "Even though you managed to rescue Jutong, it doesn't really matter. He has already served his purpose. Next, I will let all of you have a taste of the devil feast." Black light suddenly surged from the eyes of the three great heads after Chen Yuanzi's voice sounded. After which, the three of them formed some hand seals before three demonic lights erupted from their bodies. Meanwhile, those demonic lights connected the sky to the ground. Black demonic aura spread across the sky and land. Immediately, the entire world darkened while chilly winds blew. Soon after, countless sharp miserable howls suddenly sounded from within Yuan Gate. Everyone looked over only to realize that the bodies of the Yuan Gate disciples were currently exploding. Then, their flesh and blood merged with the dense demonic aura, which was drifting across the entire place. Rumble. The land below suddenly split apart as the demonic aura permeated the land. Soon after, viscous demonic aura spread before some terrifying creatures began to slowly crawl out from beneath the ground. This part of the world descended into a sea of demonic aura at this moment. The entire area darkened rapidly at this moment. Demonic aura permeated the sky, while an evil and chilly aura spread, causing the expression of countless powerful individuals to change. Lindong stared at the changes occurring in front of him with a solemn expression. Then, he directed his attention towards the interior of Yuan Gate. At that area, low and deep explosion noises were still being continuously emitted. In fact, the disciples of Yuan Gate exploded into a bloody fog one after another, before demonic aura crazily surged out from within them. It turns out that the three great heads of Yuan Gate were actually this cruel. In order to finish off Lindong's group, they were actually willing to sacrifice most of their Yuan Gate members. "Be careful," under the ground, Ying Huan went to Lindong's side. Then, her pretty icy blue eyes stared at the cracked ground. At that spot, she could feel an extremely majestic demonic aura. Deep black light slowly swirled within Lindong's eyes as if they had transformed into black holes. Soon after, his eyes looked through the many layers of devil-like creatures before his expression changed drastically. That was because he saw countless devil figures suddenly breaking out from beneath the ground before they popped up like wild beasts. "What is that?" Little Martin exclaimed. The demonic aura rose from beneath the ground before countless figures floated into the sky along with them. Everyone looked over and saw many terribly damaged figures. Meanwhile, their bodies were exceptionally sturdy and they vaguely resembled a human's body. However, their extremely evil auras allowed everyone to understand what they were. "They are Yimo!" First Elder Zhu Li cried out in a deep voice. There were actually so many Yimo hidden under Yuan Gate? No, they are all Yimo corpses and they should be dead Yimo. However, it seems like the three great heads of Yuan Gate managed to use some techniques to control them. Lindong shook his head. These Yimo did not have much intelligence in their eyes and they were all filled with bloodlust and violence. In fact, they looked like murderous corpses that were being controlled. During the Great World War back then, most Yimo were killed and purified. Hence, not even their corpses remained. It is unexpected that there are actually so many of them hidden under Yuan Gate. It seems like Yuan Gate must have been collecting Yimo corpses over the years. A chill rose on Ying Huan's pretty face as she said, "Be careful. Though these Yimo corpses may not possess the same strength as they did back when they were alive, one should not underestimate them." Lindong nodded. Currently, the scene in front of them felt akin to a miniature version of the ancient Great World War. In fact, those experts from the ancient times had perhaps faced a Yimo army which far surpassed this in terms of numbers and strength. Roar? Those Yimo roared ferociously towards the sky, before they stared at the experts in the sky with their sunken eyes. Soon after, they rushed forward like a horde of locusts and charged towards the countless experts in the sky from all directions. "Everyone, let's attack together. Kill those Yimo and destroy Yuan Gate." Sect Master Mo Jian from Blade Sect cried out sternly. Soon after, incomparably sharp sword auras whistled forward and directly hacked hundreds of devil corpses. Their momentum was startling. Charge! Mo Jian's attack immediately lifted the morale of the experts from the Yuan Destruction Alliance. After which, they quickly suppressed the fear that had rose within their hearts. Following which, Yuan power surged before attacks came raining down from all directions. Meanwhile, those devil corpses fell from the sky like birds which had lost their wings. However, soon after, even more devil corpses charged out from beneath the ground. There were many experts from the Yuan Destruction Alliance. Hence, the first wave of devil corpses failed to gain much of an advantage. However, this situation began to change as the demonic aura came spluttering forth. Roar! A few clusters of huge demonic aura surged towards the sky. After which, dozens of skinny devils suddenly charged out from within. Though they were small in build, the density of their demonic aura far surpassed the devil corpses from before. Evidently, these devil corpses were all Yimo generals when they were alive, which was strictly speaking equivalent to Samsara stage experts. Currently, although their strength had significantly weakened, their auras were still extremely frightening. They endured the majestic storm-like attacks and charged into the large army of the Yuan Destruction Alliance. After which, demonic aura spluttered out before many powerful individuals were killed instantly. With those powerful devil corpses acting as the vanguards, the devil corpses behind also began to surge over. After which, two torrents collided, before demonic aura and Yuan power gushed forth manically. It was an extremely frightening sight to behold. Sect Master, all of you should go and lend a helping hand. Stop those powerful devil corpses. Lindong glanced at the chaotic battle in the sky. The stronger Yimo general devil corpses were on a rampage and they created many openings on their defensive line. As such, if the situation was not brought under control, it would be extremely easy for their forces to be scattered by the large devil corpse army behind. All right. Ying Xuanzi nodded with a grave expression. He waved his hand before he led many powerful experts from Dao sect and charged forward. Then, he blocked some of the devil corpses, which were tougher to deal with. First Elder Zhu Li, Big Brother Liu Qing, Huan. All of you should keep a close eye on the current situation. Should powerful devil corpses show up, you guys will have to intervene and deal with them. Lindong stared at the demonic aura churning across the land. He could sense that there were even stronger devil corpses below, which had yet to show themselves. Clearly, Yuan Gate was well prepared for today, and if they were careless, it was likely that many powerful experts from the eastern Xian region would end up being buried here. Understood. First Elder Zhu Li and the rest were also well aware of the gravity of the situation. Promptly, all of them nodded solemnly. Those three old dogs from Yuan Gate are gone. They are the most troublesome ones. A fearsome glint was glimmering within little Martin's eyes as he cried out in a low voice. Lindong surveyed the place and realized that the three great heads of Yuan Gate had unknowingly vanished. This caused him to frown slightly. Those three old dogs were indeed extremely troublesome to deal with. Bang! Just as Lindong was planning to search for the three great heads of Yuan Gate, a monstrous demonic aura suddenly swept out from beneath the ground. After which, a couple of devil figures slowly walked out from within the demonic aura. Damn it, such formidable demonic aura. Could it be that those devil corpses were Yimo kings when they were alive? The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander stared at the few devil figures that had just emerged from that monstrous demonic aura, before he said. The demonic aura gradually disappeared. Soon after, 6 devil figures appeared. However, in contrast to the other devil corpses, their bodies were relatively well preserved. Meanwhile, there was evil demonic aura surging within their eyes and one could vaguely feel a faint pressure from them. Clearly, they were most likely Yimo kings when they were alive. The 6 devil figures set their evil eyes on Lindong's group after they showed up. Clearly, they realized that the latter's group were the strongest individuals around. Let's attack. First Elder Zhu Li said in a deep voice. Though those Yimo kings became much weaker after their death, an ordinary Samsara stage expert was still unable to deal with them. Hence, they were the only ones present who could block those devil corpses. However, even before they could make a move, those 6 devil figures had already roared towards the sky. Then, demonic aura churned as the 6 of them came rushing over. All of you should be careful. Lindong glanced at Ying Huan and Ling Qingshu before he softly said, "We will leave the 3 great heads of Yuan Gate to the 3 of you. Find them and finish them off. After all, we can only end this fight by finishing them off." Ling Qingshu nodded. Though her voice remained cold and collected, she paused for a moment before adding, "Be careful. I will come and assist you if you run into any problems." Ling Qingshu did not wait for a reply after uttering those words as her delicate figure rushed forward immediately. Then, she let out a lovely cry before sharp sword blows surged. After which, she stopped one of the devil figures. Lindong gave a gentle smile as he looked at Ling Qingshu's figure. After which, he felt a chillness radiating into his hand. This was because a jade-like smooth hand was holding onto his hand. Turning his head around, Ying Huan's beautiful icy blue eyes immediately entered his sight. Ying Huan did not say anything. She merely held Lindong's hand before she gently gripped it. Soon after, she let go of his hand and rushed forward. Immediately, monstrous cold aura surged and even the evil demonic aura was frozen. After she left, only Little Martin and Little Flame remained by Lindong's side. They looked at each other before they all saw an extremely intense fierce glint within each other's eyes. "Next, let us 3 brothers fight those 3 old dogs." Lindong laughed. 3 years ago, those 3 old dogs took advantage of the fact that Grandpa Martin had not recovered from his injuries. This time around, Grandpa Martin shall collect back that debt. Murderous aura filled Little Martin's handsome face. He had always been extremely ashamed of what happened 3 years ago. Back then, he was the strongest one out of the 3 of them. With his personality, he naturally felt that he must do his best to protect Lindong and Little Flame. However, he never expected that Lindong, whose strength was far inferior to his back then, was the one who ended up protecting them instead. Little Flame grinned. His grin was exactly the same as 3 years ago. However, there was monstrous ferocity surging within his current grin. The 3 brothers stepped on the empty space. Meanwhile, the fearsome aura that permeated the place was so powerful that even the demonic aura did not dare to approach them. Rumble. The land below also began to tremble violently. After which, the Lindong trio saw that amidst the viscous demonic aura below, a 10,000 feet large devil figure was slowly climbing out from the deepest part of the hole. Demonic aura raged across the sky. A humongous devil figure, which was wrapped by demonic aura, slowly surfaced. It looked just like a giant monster and it was completely black in color. Meanwhile, it had 4 large devil arms and it did not have any eyes. Instead, there was only a ferocious large mouth packed with sharp black teeth on its face. Meanwhile, demonic aura was also being spat out from its huge mouth like floodwaters. What is that? The Lindong trio looked at this monster, before their pupils all hardened in the process. Lindong, be careful. That is the cosmic evil devil king and it is the strongest type of Yimo. Back then, the Yimo Emperor Stead was a cosmic evil devil king. Moreover, the strength of that evil devil king is equivalent to a true king who has passed 2 reincarnation tribulations. Yang's solemn voice sounded. Equivalent to someone who has passed 2 reincarnation tribulations. Lindong's pupils shrunk, while his heart was filled with shock. Although this cosmic evil devil king is merely a corpse, it is being controlled by the 3 great heads of Yuan Gate. Therefore, it is likely that even an ordinary reincarnation stage expert would be no match for it. With a grave expression in his eyes, Lindong inhaled a deep breath. He didn't expect the 3 great heads of Yuan Gate to have such a powerful ace hidden up their sleeves. He. While Lindong's heart shuddered, he saw demonic aura slowly squirming on the large face of that cosmic evil devil king. Soon after, the faces of 3 individuals appeared. Then, they stared at the Lindong trio in the sky, before they used their transformed voice to laugh out loud. Lindong, like I said. Even after 3 years, the 3 of you are still ants in my eyes. Now, do you still have the courage to attack? Lindong's eyes were icy cold as he stared at the cosmic evil Devil King. After which, an arc was lifted on the corner of his lips. Meanwhile, a searing heat slowly surged within his dark black eyes. It is quite powerful indeed. However, this makes defeating them even more worthwhile, am I right? As he spoke, Lindong turned his head and looked at Little Martin and Little Flame. Meanwhile, it seems like the two of them were gradually turning mad. Are you guys ready for an all-out fight? The Little Martin duo parted their lips into a smile. With a fearsome expression in their eyes, they solemnly nodded their heads. After all, they had been waiting for this day for 3 years. In that case, Lindong slowly clenched his fist before a sharp aura surged towards the sky. Let's fight! This video will end here.